For ballers, listen. Navy Federal has a mission to put its members first by making their financial goals the priority. Receive a lifetime of membership benefits to help you and your family accomplish your life missions, like a full suite of financial products designed to fit your needs, 24/7 live support, and access to over 300 branches on or near military bases. Visit NavyFederal.org for more information or call 1-888-842-6328 or download the Navy Federal Credit Union app. Message and data rates may apply.
Welcome to the Solid Verbal.
The Solid Verbal.
Come after me! I'm a man! I'm 40!
I've heard so many players say, well, I want to be happy. You want to be happy for a day? Eat a steak.
It's that woo woo!
And now, Dan and Ty.
Welcome back to the Solid Verbal, boys and girls. My name is Ty Hildenbrandt. Joining me, as always, over there in chilly New York City, Dan Rubenstein. Sir, how are you?
I'm pretty good, Ty. I'm not going to say I'm the most excited for this Saturday's games.
No,
but
nor am I.
I'm going to flip it, Ty. It's Secret Flesh Saturday.
No.
No?
No. It's Save the Date Saturday. We already agreed on this on Sunday.
I know. I mean, I had to give myself the opportunity to at least dream up some new S words.
Secret Flesh, huh?
Well, I mean, if you're going to take the position that it's the weeks that we find to be the most boring and the weekends devoid of stakes that are ultimately the weekends with the excitement and the upsets. So here comes college football for its pound of flesh.
Okay.
Secret Flesh Saturday.
That's fair. It's a fair way to go with it. You can choose whichever adventure you prefer. Hello, welcome to the show. I'm Ty, he's Dan.
Yeah.
Don't forget you can find us at solidverbal.com. We're also out there on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook. There's also a subreddit created by Verballers for Verballers like all y'all. You can find that at reddit.com/r/solidverbal. Most importantly, right now, just as an addendum to what I normally say here at the top of a show, if you're going out to solidverbal.com/store, there are 5 t-shirts available for purchase, one of which is the classic Letdown Look Ahead sandwich shirt, which is sold incredibly well. That is, of course, in addition to some of our college town shirts that we started putting out there. So right now we've got South Bend and Eugene, in addition to Bethlehem and Easton. There will be more forthcoming. Oh, by the way, if you're interested in giving us your input, go to solidverbal.com/survey.
Yes.
You could fill in a box there, whether you want Colgate, whichever one wants Colgate, or if you have another option.
This is Colgate's week, Ty.
It is. That's true.
We can't gloss over.
That's true.
I think they have Army. It's on national television, Ty. CBS Sports Network. It's a nooner.
Yeah, buddy.
Maybe the best nooner.
Yeah, could be. We're going to get into that. As you mentioned at the top of the show, and as we hinted at on our Sunday show, Week 12 not exactly loaded to the gills
No.
with exciting, action-packed, suspenseful college football action. It's just not there. So, as I do near the top of every preview show, when I talk about this window of opportunity, you and I actually discussed almost a reverse window of opportunity, as opposed to the window of time during which you can go out and see the world, go see cats, run your chores and errands. Instead, this week, we may just want to give you a window of games to make sure that you watch if you want to pop in from whatever else the world might have for you. Like, if you can't watch games this weekend, that's fine. But if you're looking to maybe target a specific window to come in and watch a couple games before you go back out to the picnic, we could kind of identify that for you in Week 12.
Which is your window? I mean, there's only basically 2 options. You can watch during middle to late afternoon, early evening. And so you'd get West Virginia, Oklahoma State, USC, UCLA. If there are any Clay Helton stakes on the line there, Chip Kelly, does he beat USC in year 1? Or it's basically the night game. So you have Duke, Clemson, Stanford, Cal, Cincinnati, UCF, and if you are fortunate enough to live in the Republic of Texas, Iowa State, and Texas on the Longhorn Network.
Yeah, I think I think for me, the window is starting at, let's say, 4 o'clock Eastern time through maybe 6:30, 7 o'clock.
Okay, so you're not watching the first half or so of Notre Dame Syracuse.
No, just it's like an NBA game. Get in front of the TV for the last 2 minutes if you're interested. I think that's the time. And that would also give you a chance to catch up with a lot of the West Virginia-Oklahoma State game, which, if nothing else, should feature a lot of scoring.
Absolutely. And I think, we'll get into that when we get there. Yeah.
We'll get into that. Before we do, though, actually...
Yeah.
We do have breaking news.
Boop, bop, beep, boop, boop, boop.
Major breaking college football firing news dropped about 20 minutes after we hit stop on Sunday?
Something like that. It might even be a quicker turnaround. Yeah.
That's usually the way it works this time of year. We joke about it. It seems to happen every week. Who knows who it'll be this Sunday? But yeah, after week 11, clearly things have not been going very well for the Louisville Cardinals. There have been rumors. The rumors turned into a near certainty. Louisville lost pretty handily to Syracuse last week. We found out on Sunday afternoon that Bobby Petrino had indeed been fired from the Louisville Cardinals. Was not a good year. Everyone kind of saw this coming. I guess now the focus shifts from Petrino era Louisville to who comes next. Who does come next, Dan? Who are the early names?
So this is according to OddsShark, which, I mean, I don't know what the reality of these odds, but these are the current odds. So Jeff Brom has been the obvious name that has been thrown around with the Louisville job, of course, having coached at Louisville, played high school football in Louisville. He is your current leader at minus 110. So you would have to bet, if I am correct, $110 to win $100.
That is correct, yes.
So he's the overwhelming favorite. Of course, he's had a ton of success at Purdue, and this long-standing rumor with, Bobby Petrino, even while he still had a job, looking like it was not a long-term situation for Petrino at Louisville, there's been this back and forth of what's the better job? Purdue, with the comfort of being in the Big Ten, without having the pressure of having to get to, say, a New Year's Bowl. He has a sizable contract. I believe he was extended either last year or the year before. And Louisville, which, has a history of, they've been to a huge bowl game or two. They've produced a recent Heisman winner. They've had a basketball national championship. It's a higher profile athletic department, no longer affiliated with Papa John, we should point out.
Right, that's correct.
But I tend to come down on it's probably Louisville, but I don't think it's that far apart. And I would understand and listen, you live a lot closer to where you grew up than when I did. I am never in the mindset of, oh, this person went to this school. He definitely wants to go back and coach there. Or this person grew up right around the corner from the stadium. He definitely wants to go back and coach there. There are a lot of us, myself included, that don't necessarily want to go back to the immediate place in which they grew up, right?
I think that's fair. I also think, to your point, there would be a hell of a lot more pressure on him if he did go back to his hometown, because then he's coming back almost in the same capacity as Scott Frost. Now, there's been much more pomp and circumstance around Scott Frost going back to Nebraska, but I think it's similar in that, Jeff Brom will be coming back. He's obviously a successful coach. Louisville had some really high highs. They're going through some low lows right now. He has to be the guy. He needs to be the guy to lead them back to prominence. Whereas if he stays at Purdue, look, Purdue's been in the gutter for a while. It finally seems like they're building some positive momentum. Surely fans in West Lafayette are going to be a lot more understanding and patient than I think the fans if he went back to Louisville.
I would add right now, there is one surefire roadblock if you are the head coach at Louisville, and that's Clemson, right, in the ACC.
Sure.
We don't fully know what's going to happen with Florida State or Virginia Tech or Miami, each of whom are having pretty down years to various degrees. There's that one surefire roadblock. At Purdue, the division is winnable, but you still have the Wisconsin roadblock, potentially Nebraska moving forward, but that's unclear. And then you have 3.5 roadblocks on the other side, based on whatever your feelings are about Michigan State at the moment, at least, and Penn State. But Michigan and Ohio State are for sure the behemoth standing in the way of high level success, which isn't necessarily expected at Purdue. But in terms of roadblocks that will forever stay ahead of you, that's sort of the situation.
Interesting. What other names, very quickly, are on that list?
Neil Brown, who has once again quietly had a lot of success at Troy this season. His name was, in the Arizona conversation last year. Ryan Day, who's the offensive coordinator at Ohio State, whose name has come up with, if Urban Meyer were to step down after this year or whenever, he would be the transitionary name with Ohio State. He did a very good job, has done a very good job with Dwayne Haskins. Brent Venables, whose name has always popped up, but he seemingly doesn't have much interest in being a head coach anywhere. The defensive coordinator at Clemson, who's done a marvelous job. Luke Fickell, who I think has Cincinnati ahead of where a lot of us thought they would be.
Yeah, we're going to talk about Cincinnati. They're having a great year. Great defense.
So the former Ohio State coordinator and recruiting super well at Cincy, and certainly not far away geographically. Matt Campbell, who I think will be in every single open coaching conversation, who's done a great job at Iowa State. Dino Babers, who has Syracuse on unforeseen levels of success. I think they're in the top 15 right now in the college football playoff rankings. Scott Satterfield, a name I like a lot, who's had a lot of success recently with App State. And then finally on this list, Jason Candle, who it's a down year for Toledo, but has some nice moments and success with the Rockets. So those are all pretty local to Louisville, which is a pretty good job, but not on the top tier in the ACC.
In other college football news, Dan, there are new college football rankings. And guess what? They look exactly the same, almost exactly the same.
They do.
As a week ago. No change. Right now, if the season were to end, it would be Alabama 1, Clemson 2, Notre Dame 3, Michigan 4.
Do you have a problem with that order?
No.
Okay.
No
some people have pointed to Michigan perhaps having a more successful way through their perhaps more difficult schedule, nothing that Notre Dame can necessarily control.
Did those two teams play, Notre Dame and Michigan?
I believe Notre Dame did win that game.
I believe it was 24-17. That would be the end of the argument.
Is that the end of the argument, though? Do you cut it off at head-to-head week 1? Like, I know you're mostly saying this seriously, but there's a part of you that says that you're saying this is a ndnation.com lurker.
Sure, of course.
Yeah.
Well, they played head-to-head and Notre Dame won.
They did.
So I don't understand the logic in putting Michigan above Notre Dame. They played, Notre Dame won. Mm-hmm. Notre Dame hasn't lost. That should be end of story.
Why?
They played head-to-head.
I know they did, but why is that the end of the story when there's the season is an evolving beast?
The season is an evolving beast, for sure. But if there is that head-to-head comparison, that's the problem with the whole system. That's the beauty in the whole system. In very few instances, or far fewer instances than we need, you don't have that head-to-head comparison. So certainly, it should hold the most weight, knowing that they played, knowing that one team beat the other. Notre Dame looked pretty damn good in that game.
They did.
So if you've got that as a variable to consider, you should want to use it. You should use that first and foremost above all else.
So right now, and depending on how much stock you put in this, Bill Connolly's S&P Plus ratings, I'm very careful to use ratings, not rankings.
Sure.
It's future predictive. So Michigan is ahead of Notre Dame in terms of offense, defense, and special teams. Mm-hmm. The resume S&P rank of Notre Dame is 14th, and the resume rank of Michigan is 3rd.
Okay.
So against what he purports to be a stronger schedule, which I think is reasonable to say, also with Ohio State coming up and potentially a Big Ten championship game, Michigan has performed better against better competition.
Okay.
And I don't think that's everything. I think head-to-head is part of it, but I'd say head-to-head in week 7 might be more important than head-to-head in week 1.
Okay. So you would put Michigan above Notre Dame?
I might put Michigan. I might. So here's the thing: the sort of addendum to this. Yeah, I think I might be inclined to do that. My addendum.
This is a ridiculous argument, but continue. I'd like to.
I mean, listen. Michigan didn't have the chance to sneak by Ball State, Ty.
Right. That's right.
Michigan did not have that opportunity to get by Pitt. Although Pitt's pretty good now. My addendum is Notre Dame fans are looking at this as a Michigan versus Notre Dame thing. They're worried that it's going to come down to the Irish and the Wolverines. I think if the Irish go 12-0, they're not going to be competing for a spot.
Right.
I think if Michigan wins out in the Big Ten, so they finish the season 12-1, then it becomes a Michigan, Georgia, Michigan, Oklahoma, Michigan, Washington State question. If everybody seems to, or West Virginia, excuse me, for that matter as well. Unfortunately, UCF probably won't be in this conversation, but I don't think ultimately it will come down to Michigan and Notre Dame and yelling about head-to-head in early September.
So also in those same S&P Plus ratings,
please,
we've got Fresno State above West Virginia. We've got Central Florida above Ohio State. We've got Appalachian State above LSU.
Did you watch Ohio State struggle with Nebraska? I remember that game pretty vividly.
I did. I'm using a few examples here.
No, I know.
So are we just going to accept that at face value then? That because the ratings say it, therefore...
No.
Okay.
I use that as an example of saying Michigan's performance throughout the season can be looked at as more successful than what Notre Dame has done, selecting the wrong quarterback potentially to start the season. And
I mean, Notre Dame beat Michigan with their backup quarterback.
They did beat Michigan with their backup quarterback. Indeed, they did. So I'm just willing to believe that the season evolves and it's a changing beast.
Let me put it to you this way. Okay.
Yeah.
I value the head-to-head matchup more than I value anything else. I know it was week 1. I know the season evolves. Michigan's come a long way. I think what Michigan's done so far this season from start to finish has really been admirable. I absolutely think they deserve a spot in that top 4. But as long as Notre Dame remains unbeaten, as long as Notre Dame did beat Michigan to head-to-head, there's no reason Notre Dame shouldn't be ahead of them until proven otherwise.
Okay, interesting. I actually had another question for you because I don't consume a ton of college football talk. I will listen to our friends at PAPN, Stephen Godfrey and Bill Connolly, but that's sort of it in terms of podcasts or radio or TV. I like reading.
I read a lot. That's what I do.
Yeah. And I like to live in reality more than I like to live in like the argumentative world. As you can probably guess, Ty and I don't really like arguing all that much.
Not really our brand of podcasting.
But the one thing I've seen in a couple different places is the question of, has this been a good season? Has this been a dud? Has this been fun? Because there are certain seasons where, there's a crazy amount of upsets, and that is really fun to some people, or that is sort of too topsy-turvy, and people like order, and, people like the teams accomplishing things, being rewarded for accomplishing things, and not having everything sort of be turned on its ass. Has 2018, now that we are heading into week 12, is it a capital G good season?
Capital G good. Well,
and how do you quantify that?
Yeah, I mean, first off, we do a podcast. We've done this podcast mostly in our own free time for not a lot of money for 10 years.
Yeah.
So for us, the definition of good, we will find the good.
Oh, have I not been sending you the checks? Oh, Ty, I'm so sorry.
We will find the good in any given season because that's why we do this. But I think relative to some of the other seasons that we've seen here that we've been podcasting, there's a little bit of excitement out the window because Alabama is so good. Because since like week 3, it's very much felt like a foregone conclusion that Alabama was the best team, or at least that Alabama and Clemson were the best 2 teams. So I think, and I said this a couple weeks ago, this constant battle for what feels like second place has definitely taken a little bit of shine off the season. I'd also add something that we brought up last show or the show before, where we talked about the quality of some of the wins that we've seen this season. This was actually your idea. I can't take credit for it. How many good, high-level, legit wins have there been by top 10 teams so far
10,
this
15,
season?
Yeah. Not a lot. There's a lot of, in retrospect, I guess beating Penn State is not like the craziest thing. There are look backs that don't make you feel like it has been a heavyweight season, that there is so much at the top happening that you have to pay attention all day, every Saturday.
Right. Like I'll take TCU as an example.
Sure.
TCU lost to Ohio State 40-28.
Mm-hmm.
Back in, what was that, week 3? We thought that was really going to be, this is a harbinger of things to come for the college football season. Well,
right.
TCU's in a really bad way right now. And Ohio State has regressed a little bit. Ohio State isn't what we thought. It's always easier in retrospect to examine what games were bigger and which ones weren't. But still, that's one to me that, looking back, it's disappointing that game didn't mean a whole lot.
This makes me think. This makes me question, not in a negative way, not in an ill-meaning way, but is Alabama excellent, or are they good in a year where nobody is basically good? Wow. Where it's just like Alabama has met expectations of being good with good players and good coaches, even with all the turnover on the coaching staff, whereas everything around them is sort of crumbling or is so new. You look around the SEC West, and LSU with its second offensive coordinator in 2 years under Ed Orgeron, and Texas A&M hiring a new coach, Mississippi State with a new coach,
right.
Ole Miss going through what it went through off the field and the changes that it was going through. Auburn really looking like it was going to be a good team on both sides of the ball with an experienced quarterback and experienced defense, and they fall off a cliff for a good chunk of the season. Is it just that Alabama, and maybe that is the brilliance of Nick Saban in Alabama, is just they're consistently good, but if you were to weigh this team, like this defense against 2011's defense, probably not as good, but the fact is they're just meeting expectations. And when you go around college football, and this is something we've talked about before, we spend 8 months talking about hypotheticals.
Right.
We are hoping this team is good. We are hoping this team is improved. We are hoping this quarterback keeps on his trajectory of improving and looking great. And then when we get to the season and teams don't meet at least our personal expectations or conventional wisdom for expectations, it's disappointing. And this season, if you look across mostly the major conferences, but even some of the smaller conferences. There are no small conferences, just small minds, obviously. The ACC has one team where we are positive they're at least good. Okay?
Yep.
The Big 12 has 2 teams in Oklahoma and West Virginia that we're positive is good. But, Texas is week-to-week entertaining. Iowa State looks, aggressively competent. And then beyond that, you're like, well, Texas Tech and injuries, and TCU's been crazy injured. And this would have been a good year for Kansas State to jump up and be pretty good with everybody else struggling. There's been a vacuum in the Big 12. The Big 10, down Wisconsin here. Who's jumping up and taking their place? Or down Penn State here, down Michigan State. Who's jumping up and taking? Nobody. Vacuum in the Big 10. And then you look at the Pac-12, and it's like, okay, Washington, big expectations, definitely didn't come close to meeting them.
Yeah.
Who's taking their place?
Even the SEC, Dan.
Yeah.
Outside of Alabama and Georgia.
It feels like a cafeteria year. Again, I always bring it back to food. Right. You're not going to go hungry in a cafeteria. You're not going to have a bad time watching college football all season long. But sometimes you're just going to get mush. Yeah. And there's a lot of mush this year in college football. And I hope, bowl season gets weird. I hope, rivalry weeks, because I guess there's multiple weeks now, get weird. And I imagine they will. But in terms of filling vacuums, it has not been the most exciting year. And
no,
I imagine it's cyclical and next year will be crazy or something like that. But, I was talking Pac-12 and just, the mess that is, and I find it entertaining, but it's a conference that has a hard time getting people to pay attention to it. The Pac-12 South has been a mess. The Washington vacuum has allowed Washington State to really establish itself, but Stanford and Oregon with down years. Mm-hmm. And there's just that pretty good gap where it's a TBD, and I think it's just going to be a TBD all year long. There's not a lot of conference number 4 versus conference number 6 games that either have stakes or really present a reason to like, oh, I got to stay up late to watch, Arizona, Utah or something. It's tough.
It probably makes for a lot of interesting matchups come bowl season.
Yeah.
And to our earlier conversation, it does set up nicely for a team like Notre Dame that isn't in a conference.
Oh my God, the best possible thing for Notre Dame.
If conference play would have taken a different turn throughout the course of the season, Notre Dame might have had a tougher argument, even despite the fact that they're undefeated. Not being in the conference might have come back to bite them in a way that it won't this year, because so many conferences feel like they're down and out. So weigh in, let us know. solidverbal@gmail.com is the email. Also look us up on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all the usual hotspots, Dan. Real quick, before we get into some of the games, we got some other things that we're going to drizzle in here over the course of the show, because it is Save the Date Saturday, mind you, and we're going to have fun with it and talk through all the games, but it's not the highest of high profile college football wise. So we're going to talk about some other odds and ends here. The thing I did want to get into, though, before I forget, what is going on now at Ohio State? What is this latest bit with a wide receiver, Trevon Grimes, if I understand correctly?
Trevon Grimes, yeah. I don't think it's going to last much longer. It was a very strange story. Brett McMurphy, who's now at Stadium, formerly at ESPN, reported that basically there was a confrontation between Zach Smith. You should probably know who Zach Smith is by now, the now fired former Ohio State wide receivers coach. Confrontation between him and this former Ohio State receiver, Trevon Grimes, which went into a racial component. There was an accusation from Trevon Grimes, who is now transferred to Florida, I believe. His father levied an accusation that a racial component was brought into basically Zach Smith dressing down Trevon Grimes at practice. And immediately after, and with just no hesitation, Ohio State receivers, Urban Meyer and Gene Smith, the Ohio State athletic director, Michael Drake, the president of Ohio State, all came out and said this is 100% not true. The receiver said they saw the altercation and there was nothing racial about it, and just across the board denials, which I think speaks pretty loudly. But the saga of Zach Smith and Ohio State and just strange, weird accusations continues. I don't think it's going to last that much longer. I don't know. It was very odd.
Okay. Well, we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah.
Let's get into some of the games here, shall we?
Let's do it.
Dan, time, help. I need picks of the week.
All right. As we said, not the most loaded slate of games, but that's okay. We'll do our best to add as much sizzle and spice as we can. But before we do, Saturday, Dan, let's talk about Indochino.
Oh, please. I'm ready.
Let's talk about Indochino. It's North America's leading made-to-measure menswear company. They make suits, they make shirts to your exact measurements, which gives you an unparalleled fit, unparalleled comfort, if we're being honest. All you got to do is visit a showroom and have someone take your measurements personally, or you can measure yourself at home and shop online at Indochino.com. That's Indochino.com. Then you pick your fabrics and your customizations, and you just wait for the best suit you've ever worn to roll on in addition to the compliments you'll get wearing such a finely tailored suit. Here's what's going on. You can get up to 70% off everything because November is Black Friday season, as you know.
Oh, yeah.
You can take advantage of their lowest prices this season. You can look great when you take center stage for your biggest moments in life. All you got to do is go to Indochino.com. That's Indochino.com. Use the code SOLID at checkout to take advantage of Black Friday pricing. That's 70% off the regular price for a made-to-measure suit. Shipping's free. That's Indochino.com. The promo code is SOLID for up to 70% off. An incredible deal, Dan. Get your made-to-measure suit today. Again, Indochino.com. Your promo code is SOLID. Once you go custom, you don't go rack.
That is. Will you, Ty? I want to see if something plays in an audio-only form. Okay.
Yeah.
Will you repeat? Give me just 1 second. But will you repeat whatever it was and 70% off? Whatever it is that is 70% off that Indochino is offering. I want to see if I'm going to try a spit take and see if it comes across in podcast form. Okay, go.
A made-to-measure suit, 70% off.
What? How was that? Did that play?
It was very convincing.
Oh, thank you. I put some tea and I just, I missed it a little.
Also brought to you this evening by an exciting new sponsor. I'm very excited about this one, Dan.
I'm ready.
Are you into buying sneakers online?
Ty, I'm a little too into it myself, yeah.
If you're into it, there is a solid chance the shoe you're looking at is fake. It's a fake.
What? Really? Oh, this is bad.
Fake shoes.
That explains my Nurky Airs.
How can you be sure that shoe is real? Well, GOAT.com, GOAT. It is the safest way to buy and sell authentic sneakers online. They're the largest marketplace in the world for your authentic Yeezys, your Jordans, over 600,000 sneaker listings, and they made the whole process frictionless by only accepting sellers with the best reputations and verifying that all sneakers match their exact factory specifications to ensure authenticity. Every detail is inspected, from the stitching and color to the size and weight. And get this, I did get clarification that this is true. Mm-hmm. They even have a guy who smells the sneakers.
Is that true?
This is 100% true. They have someone who smells the sneaker. I don't know if they pay him.
Okay.
It's just somebody who likes smelling the sneakers to ensure that they are authentic.
Wow.
So you know you're getting a real deal here. Yeah. Over 500,000 sneakers on the platform, 10 million users. You're not going to find better prices anywhere else. Find the perfect 100% authentic sneaker that you're looking for at goat.com/solid. Support the show.
Yeah, like the animal, GOAT. You know I'm a swoosh guy, Ty. I went to Oregon. Not really a three-striper, but got my eyes on some boosts. Mm-hmm. I've heard really good things about the Adidas boosts, and they've got a ton of New Balances for you, Ty. Yeah. You got your eye on some 997s, some 574s, different colors, some without the N, because that's like a limited edition thing, I guess. I don't know. But you can get yourself some newbies for sure.
All right. Let's move on. Let's talk about actual games.
Okay.
2:30. Neutral cider in Yankee Stadium, Dan. Not sure how I feel about that.
Well, I mean, you have a hat that already honors
I do have a hat.
college football in Yankee Stadium.
Thank you. Yeah. It's on NBC. Syracuse at Notre Dame. I guess it's not at Notre Dame. Syracuse versus Notre Dame. Neutral site game. The line is about 10 points in favor of the Fighting Irish. The state of play for Notre Dame is very simple. We talked about it earlier. If they win this week against Syracuse, if they win next week on the road at USC, they are in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. There's any two ways about it.
Playoff.
Yeah. The stakes are extremely high. And what worries me is that Syracuse knows that. That's, from time to time, I talk about games that I call, quote, I'm using the air quotes here, de facto national championships. This, my friends, is a classic case of that, because Syracuse ain't winning the ACC Atlantic. They're not playing in the ACC title game. They close out the year with Boston College. At this point in the season, this game is Syracuse's national championship game. And so I get a little worried when I see a situation like that, because I know they're going to be fired up.
So the good thing is it's not in the Carrier Dome. I mean, just in terms of it being a huge moment for Syracuse football and what they are themselves playing for, and just this on this huge stage where there's nothing really else happening at this time, it doesn't appear. I also like that Syracuse, ahead of this game, like as a school, they're like, we did not move this game to Yankee Stadium. Right. This was not a Syracuse home game. I want to make that perfectly clear.
Right.
So this is a Notre Dame home game. If you like Syracuse in this game, you probably love the idea of hidden yards. And that's because Syracuse has the best special teams unit, which I guess is like 5 different units, but in college football.
That's right.
They punt amazingly well. They cover a punt amazingly well. They return punts. They just, in the game of field position, they are just consistent winners. And against what appears to be a very, very good Notre Dame team, it feels important. I don't trust Syracuse offensively to move the ball against a top flight Notre Dame defense to a crazy extent. And I don't know how much Syracuse stops Notre Dame, especially if the Irish are getting it going on the ground with Dexter Williams, which, listen, if he's running well, they're winning. That's just the sort of definition of Notre Dame's season. I think it's close for a half. I think Notre Dame ultimately wins this game by double digits. The spread is about 9.5, depending on where you look. I have Notre Dame 34-20.
Okay. Interesting.
And you can, I'm sure, talk to the Ian Book situation.
Well, I mean, I'm curious to see how Ian Book looks. He sat out the game last week due to injury. Syracuse actually does a pretty good job getting after the passer, and rib injuries can be aggravated very easily. I've done it. Believe me, I've broken ribs. It's not hard to re-aggravate them.
Comparable athlete, Ty Hildenbrandt.
Of course. I can speak to it from the elite athletic perspective.
Yes, sir.
I do want to get back to what you said, though. You mentioned hidden yards. I'd expand that out and say hidden stuff.
Yeah.
Syracuse is at a point now with Dino Babers where they're scoring like 44 points a game, which is great. But what intrigues me most is the boring stuff, the hidden stuff that you mentioned. Field position. Syracuse is very good when it comes to playing the field position game. What about turnovers? Turnovers right now, Cuse is the 4th best in the nation in turnover margins.
Indeed.
All right. They've got a freshman defensive back with 5 interceptions. That's incredible. And then you mentioned the special teams. According to the S&P Plus, Syracuse does have the best special teams in the country. So if nothing else, I think that points to Syracuse playing really good team football. That's not always something that shows up statistically in terms of box scores, but in a very Iowa State-y kind of way, that to me is a team that's going to hang around and play it tough. So that's why I worry. I also worry, I won't drone on too much about this, I promise. I worry about Eric Dungey. Excuse me, grungy Eric Dungey.
Thank you.
He's very much a dual threat quarterback. He leads Syracuse with 129 rushing attempts, and he has 12 rushing touchdowns on the year. Plus, he's a capable passer. Notre Dame's defense hasn't really seen that kind of quarterback this year. So I'm curious to see how they respond. They could see a quarterback like that if they make the playoff. Won't mention any names, but certainly this is an interesting next step for them just as a defensive unit. So the problem for Syracuse, they give up a lot of big plays. Notre Dame has some home run hitters. You mentioned Dexter Williams. I think it'll be a close game. I do think Notre Dame's got the edge here, but I think Syracuse is going to fight him. I don't want to count anyone out. So I'm taking points.
Who are you taking?
I always take points.
I know, but who are you actually
I take the points, Dan. I'm on the side of the points.
It should be 40s and sunny, so nothing crazy weather-wise.
We disagree, I guess.
We disagree.
Moving on, let's go to 3:30 ABC. West Virginia at Oklahoma State. I got this one at 4.5.
Yep.
Right now. Here's the deal for West Virginia. They're 6-1 in the Big 12. They're tied for first in the conference with Oklahoma. If they win this week, it sets up, I guess, 2 straight weeks of Oklahoma versus West Virginia. Once in the regular season, once in a conference championship. I am certain that Oklahoma State has to be aware of this. You know they love to play spoiler. But their de facto national championship game was last week. And they lost to their hated rival by, a missed 2-point conversion. So I'm wondering if there isn't an enormous letdown effect in play here for Oklahoma State, Dan.
Maybe. I mean, the game's in Stillwater. It's hard to be too let down in a huge game. You have an opportunity to knock off a top 10 team once again. Oklahoma State has won this game these last 3 years.
Yeah.
This is not like a crazy underdog story, even though, and you can play this sound for me real quick if you have it.
Yeah.
Oklahoma State's my Yakko's home dog of the week.
The Yakko's home dog of the week.
And I don't know how we haven't mentioned it, but the ultimate tie receiving core.
Yeah.
In Tylan Wallace and Tyron Johnson, who are not huge receivers, and that's who's given West Virginia's secondary some trouble this year. If you look at what Texas Tech, Hakeem Butler at Iowa State, Texas with Lil Jordan Humphrey and Colin Johnson, they've had success against West Virginia's secondary. Still a very good, or at least an improved West Virginia defense. I like Oklahoma State here, not just to cover this 4 or 5 point spread. Buddy, I have them winning. I have them winning at home against West Virginia. I like the fight that they showed last week against Oklahoma. I think they're secret growers right now, Oklahoma State. In spite of Mike Gundy having just another dumb week of quotes, I am still going with the Pokes here because I like Chuba Hubbard and his advancement. I like the corn dog. I love the all-tie receiving core.
Okay. I'm going to be honest here.
Yeah.
It would be a waste of time to try to dive too deeply into the matchups here because this is two high-powered offenses.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to be a shootout.
It's going to be great. It's going to be lovely.
It's going to be a shootout. Any way you slice it, it's going to be a shootout. My big bet here is that Oklahoma State is spent from Bedlam a week ago, and they come out flat. And when you come out flat against West Virginia is going to be fired up for this game. I think they get out to a lead, and Oklahoma State can't make up the ground. I think they win comfortably. I think a lot of points, but I'm going to say 51-38 West Virginia.
Wow.
Yeah. A big win, setting up a big game in the Big 12 next week.
Can I ask you for a favor? Because I've noticed something about you. Listen, we're going to go through so many games so quickly. You love a good de facto national championship.
I love it.
Can we, before the season starts, go through every team's de facto national championship? And also, can we come up with not this week, but in the last couple weeks of the season, can we come up with a de facto college football playoff of 4 teams playing in de facto national championships and see how they do?
We could try. I mean, it might be a John Nash situation while I'm writing with the chalk pencil on the window.
That's fine.
But I'm willing to do it, Dan.
I want an Earth 2 de facto season that we are just going to start up and just imaginary stakes across the board. That's all I want.
Is Colgate involved in said Earth 2?
Oh my gosh. This is 100% Colgate's de facto national championship going to Army?
Yeah, buddy.
Oh my gosh.
All right. Let's
Next.
move on. I guess we disagree again. Moving on. 8 p.m. ABC. Cincinnati at UCF. Now look, this is not a game we usually preview with the others. I don't want to take anything away from either of these two teams because it's been a really good year.
But you're about to.
Yeah, I also think the fact that we're talking about it this early in the show, granted 45 minutes in, speaks to the volume of other games that we've got here on Save the Date Saturday.
Sure.
But UCF 9-0, I think 11th in the college football playoff rankings. Cincinnati 9-1. Both are top 20 teams, though they've taken very different paths to get there. UCF has the offense, the prolific offense, Mackenzie Milton. Everyone knows about the offense. Cincinnati's played really sound defense. I think in this game, UCF has way too much offense, but also more defense than you'd expect. Now, here is my one disclaimer. Yeah. Don't get too excited about me saying that, because I used, I believe, the exact same logic when I locked up UCF -5, I want to say, against Memphis earlier this year.
They won by 1, yeah.
They won 31-30. So I'm going to go back to the well here. I'm going to hope that second time is a charm. The UCF defense, top 50 in the nation, not great, but better than you think. I like them. They're at home. They're a 7.5-point favorite. I think they win by 13 going away.
Wow. Okay. I disagree. I should also point out there is no de facto national championship on the line in this one.
None here.
UCF's will be if they run the table and get a big bowl game.
That's right.
Yeah, I think you hit everything fine. UCF has an awesome offense. They generate big plays. They're complete. The defense has actually improved from where they were last year. Cincinnati, just an incredible defense, ahead of schedule with everything Luke Fickell has had to do. With the Bearcats, they do give up some big plays through the air. I think that's not great, but with the energy in this building, I think their defense will travel. Game day is going to be there. I'm going to take the points here. I'm actually going to say UCF 33, Cincy 27. I think UCF has played tight at times this season. We've seen them let teams back into games after jumping out to comfortable leads. I think Cincinnati comes back and doesn't win, but makes it a game. So I'm going to take the points.
We disagree. 8 p.m. on Longhorn Network, if you have it, or an illegal stream somewhere else out on
Twitch.com.
Iowa State at Texas. The line here is 3 points in favor of the Longhorns. Again, state of play here is that Iowa State has won 5 in a row after losing at the end of September to TCU. A loss that, that looks good. Don't look too closely at it. Looking a little worse and worse by the week, but it's a different team now. So I think we're all excited about Iowa State and Brock Purdy and the way they've looked since. And then on the flip side, we've got Texas. Let's take a good look at Texas, Dan.
Let's take a good hard look.
Let's take a good hard look at the Longhorns.
Okay.
Sam Ehlinger, Little Jordan Humphrey. We like him, right?
Yeah, for sure.
How do you feel about the defense, though?
A lot better early on in the season than I do now. You can move the ball in this Texas defense, especially through the air. They've had to deal with injuries, they've suspensions. It has been a step back year, losing a couple of pretty big pieces.
They lost pieces, but look, the S&P Plus.
They're rough.
The S&P Plus says that Texas has the 69th best defense in the country. I mean, it's nice, but it's just tough to be impressed. If you play the season in reverse, knowing what we know now, you hold TCU to 16 points. That ain't that impressive. You hold USC to 14 points. In retrospect, isn't that impressive? So let me ask you, in a game like this, which trust? Let me do that again. Sorry. Holding USC to 14 points isn't all that impressive either.
Right.
So I feel like we're at a point where it's Sam Ehlinger and Lil Jordan Humphrey against the world. And then on the flip side, we've got an Iowa State team that just feels like they play really solid team football. They're always up. Every week is their de facto national championship. I am inclined to go Iowa State outright here, even though the game's on the road at night.
I'm taking Iowa State outright and lock it up.
Lock of the week.
I'm scared to pull the trigger on the lock, but Iowa State's got more momentum. They play better team football. I think it's a higher scoring game, but I think I trust Iowa State more. I'm going to say like 38-35 Iowa State.
Yeah, is Iowa State the best not bad team in the country?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, I think they're right there, and Matt Campbell has done an excellent job. There's a ton of buy-in from this team. I think they have one of the best 5 or 6 receivers in the country, and Hakeem Butler, who was weirdly not a Biletnikoff finalist. I think that was a huge oversight. Texas coming off of a couple of emotional games. You know, the end of the West Virginia game obviously didn't go the way they would have liked to. They almost let Texas Tech back into last week's game. And I think there is something just aggressively competent and dependable about Iowa State right now with Brock Purdy. He plays fearlessly. Texas, for as much as the defense has been disappointing these past few weeks, they are... And I look at the points per drive, offensively and defense, so offense minus defense, their net points per drive is the closest in the Big 12 to 0, which means they're consistently a toss-up team. Right. They, as much as they put on the table, they take off. So I like this to be a close game, but I think Iowa State wins this one by a field goal, maybe force a big turnover late. So 27-24, give me the Clones.
We're going to go rapid fire through a bunch of games here.
All right. I'm getting into my squat position. Here we go.
But I first want to ask you one final question on this game to tie it up.
Yeah.
This is something that may have been unthinkable to ask about 3 years ago.
Okay.
Is Matt Campbell a better coach than Tom Herman?
Whoa. Both with Iowa State ties. So if this hypothetical was, if I were to have a mid to high level tier program, who would I rather hire?
Yeah.
I think right now it's Matt Campbell because there's something unknown about him that is, you have that hope, you have that tantalizing what if. Whereas with Tom Herman, we know he has all the resources in the world. We think Texas is moving in basically the correct direction, but
right.
There are some questions that linger. So I'm going to say Matt Campbell.
Over the last 2 years, the answer is yes. Is
it too late, Ty, to rename Week 12 de facto Super Bowl Saturday?
We're going with save the date. We agreed on save the date.
I know. Maybe next week will be de facto Super Bowl Saturday. Okay.
All right. You ready for rapid fire? You're in the squatting position.
I'm in squatting position. I'm still standing, but I have a good center of gravity.
12 p.m. ABC, Ohio State at Maryland. Point spread here opened at 16.5. It's down to 14.5, which means, yes, people are betting on Maryland here, Dan. Who do you got?
I'm going to take the points, even with the spread coming down. Second straight road game for Ohio State, maybe body blow. Kasim Hill tragically tore the other ACL that he hadn't torn before, but I do like Anthony McFarland to at least help possession with Maryland, taking the points.
Maryland lost by 21 against Michigan. They lost by 21 against Michigan State.
Yes.
They lost by 23 against Iowa. How now will they be within 14 of Ohio State? I'm not rooting against it. I just do not get the logic. I say Ohio State 45-21 and lock it up.
Wow.
Lock of the week.
Yeah. Moving on. 12 p.m. on Fox.
Wait, is this Maryland's de facto Super Bowl, though?
No. No.
Disagree.
Maybe. I don't know. 12 p.m. Fox. Michigan State at Nebraska. 2 points here is the spread in favor of visiting Michigan State. Who do you got?
I'm going to take Michigan State. They've been weirdly better away from East Lansing. Granted, yes, a lot of their biggest games have been in East Lansing. This 100% is Nebraska's de facto Super Bowl.
Yep.
Last home game of the year and an opportunity to make a big statement going into the offseason. I'm going Sparty by 7.
I'm going de facto Super Bowl champions here. Let's go Nebraska outright. Big home win.
Wow.
Let's do it. Why not? 12 p.m. on the ACC network. Does anyone have the ACC network, by the way?
So the ACC network, I think, is like a local channel. It's a different channel.
Is it like
most
Jefferson
markets.
Pilot Sports?
Sort of. It's like if you look up ACC network, it's going to be whatever channel shows like the Jerry Lewis telethon or old I Love Lucy episodes, like a local Allentown channel.
Local access programming.
Yeah, they sort of, syndicate.
Pittsburgh at Wake Forest. Pitt is a 6-point favorite, Dan.
Okay. It feels low, although Wake beat NC State. I'm going to go Pitt by 14. I think that running game travels, and it scares me.
Wake is 91st against the run in the nation, which is not nearly good enough to win this game or cover the spread. So I want the Panthers, even though the game is on the road. Moving on, 3:30, CBS. Mizzou at Tennessee. Point spread here, 6 points in favor of Missouri, Dan. I am spooked because I can't figure out Mizzou. Big time blind spot for me. In particular, that Florida game is going to haunt me all season. I thought Florida was going to kill Missouri, and it went the complete opposite direction. So my inclination here was to take Tennessee, but I'm going to go against my initial gut because I'm so wrong on Mizzou, and I'm going to say Missouri wins and covers.
Yeah, initially I went Tennessee just because of what I saw last week from them out of Kentucky, but Kentucky's offense is bad. Mizzou's offense is pretty good. I'm going to go Mizzou here by a touchdown. They cover.
10:30, CBS Sports Network. San Diego State at Fresno. Point spread here, 15. I am going to go San Diego State. I feel like I've gone San Diego State about 3 or 4 separate times this season. They have not let me down, even though the defense has maybe underperformed where it was earlier in the year. I think Fresno, a week off that loss now to Boise, they come back home, they look sluggish, and San Diego State keeps it within the spread.
Could not disagree more aggressively. I think Fresno wins this game by 3 touchdowns. San Diego State's offense, you mentioned the defense, but their offense is atrocious. They scored 16 points against San Jose State. San Jose State might be the worst FBS team we have, short of UConn. So I don't think San Diego State's pass defense is going to be enough against a Fresno State team that throws the ball well. And give me the Bulldogs.
10:30, ESPN, Arizona at Washington State. The Cougs are a 10-point home favorite. Is there a look-ahead effect here with the Apple Cup on deck for Washington State?
I don't know, but they beat Colorado on the road in a trap spot. They have the Apple Cup next week. You might as well play the sound if you have it on our board.
Oh, look at that sandwich. I'm so hungry. I'm so hungry.
Oh, boy.
Possible letdown look-ahead sandwich here.
Possible letdown look-ahead sandwich because Arizona does generate some big plays on the ground. Washington State, actually their defense has been okay. A little disappointing at times. I just think it's a bad matchup for Arizona. So, I don't like teams that are too dependent on big plays. I have Wazoo by 17 here.
I've got Wazoo. I don't think Zona is good enough against the pass.
No.
Not anywhere close. 10:30, Pac-12 Network. Arizona State at your Oregon Ducks. Your Oregon Ducks, a 4-point favorite. Dan, who you got?
I don't know why that is. ASU is, if not for a couple of early season slip-ups, they've been good. Somebody tweeted us about Eno Benjamin and N'Keal Harry being the best running back wide receiver duo in the country. I can't, with authority say that, but they're in that conversation. They've come along really nicely. The USC win on the road was a nice little statement for them. I have ASU by 10 here. Oregon is better at home. They didn't look particularly good at home against UCLA a couple weeks ago on offense. A lot of those points were generated with defense and special teams. They're just too bad and too stubborn at adjusting. So I'm going to take ASU here to win by 10.
I'm going to go ASU. We agree.
And I probably won't watch much of this game because I shouldn't.
All right. I'm going to take another pass through here and get some games that I missed the first time around. 12:20. We've got NC State at Louisville. Louisville, of course, notable because they lost their coach. 15 points. NC State is the favorite here. Do you have any reason to back Louisville in this game?
They might be super happy not to deal with Petrino or anybody even remotely associated with Bobby Petrino. That seems to be a weight off of people's backs when that happens. But I'm going to say NC State. It's too little, too late.
Agree. 3:30 Fox. USC at UCLA. This is a very big game for Clay Helton. If Clay Helton does not win this game, pretty good chance USC's not going to a bowl game. And there, I think, will be renewed cries for a new head football coach at Southern Cal. So 3.5 points is the favorite. Who do you got?
Yeah, these two teams sort of meeting in the middle of UCLA overachieving at times and USC underachieving most of the time. And, it's a field goal. I'm going to take USC here. I think ultimately they can beat up on deeply flawed teams. And while UCLA is promising, I still think they're deeply flawed. So I'm going to take the Trojans here. I'm
going to go UCLA. Wow. Chip Kelly has them going in a good direction. Give me UCLA. What the hell?
By the way, a double homers podcast coming this week?
That is correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you want to say the teams?
Sure.
Yeah. We've got USC and Clemson, right?
That is correct.
Hell yeah.
Moving on. 3:30 ESPN, Miami at Virginia Tech. Miami, somehow a 3.5 point favorite. We've got two ships here seemingly going in the wrong direction, both going in the wrong direction. So I'm happily going to take the points, and I like the fact that Virginia Tech's at home.
Fair enough. Is this the de facto Super Bowl for Virginia Tech?
No, they've got Virginia on deck.
Where's that game, though?
The Commonwealth Cup, I believe, would be...
Oh, yeah. Commonwealth Cup is at home. Okay, never mind.
Yeah. Okay. Who do you got?
Oh God, somebody has to win, right?
Yeah.
I guess I'll take Tech. They're at home, and I hate Miami's offense.
3:30 Boston College at Florida State. 2 points. Boston College is the favorite here.
What a world we live in.
I know.
I don't think Anthony Brown's going to play in this game, so I'll take Florida State at home to win a close game.
I'm going to take Florida State. 4 p.m. Indiana at Michigan. Michigan, a 4-touchdown favorite.
The Michigan is just built to slowly just stomp teams. I think they're gonna win easily. So I'm gonna take the Wolverines here.
I'm taking points because possible look ahead spot with Ohio State on deck.
Okay,
but not because there's any flaw in Michigan. Michigan's solid. 7:30 Pac-12 Network. Stanford Cal. 2 points. Stanford is the favorite here. Big rivalry game, and Cal has been playing just incredible defense the back half of the season. So I like what Cal's doing. I don't think they win this game. I'm going to go Stanford.
I had to look up Stanford and make sure they weren't like 8-2 and still going to somehow go 10-2 this year. Because when I looked, I was like, wait, could they? And then I realized, no, they've lost 4 times, I believe. So I'm going to take Cal here as well. They're a home dog with a really good defense. I'm not going to tell you that Strawberry Canyon's a hostile place to play, but I'm going to go with the roll-on U-Bear types.
All right. What did I miss? Surely I missed
de facto
something.
Super Bowl.
What did I miss?
Duke is getting 28 points at Clemson.
Oh, God.
Duke, another candidate for the best not bad team in the country.
I got to go Clemson there. Clemson's been playing really, really well.
Yeah, wasn't finishing drives. Had some issues last week against Boston College. I'm going to take Duke to cover here. But by something like 38-10. Or no, I guess that would be the push. 38-13.
Okay. What else?
You got South Florida Temple.
Give me Temple.
I love those Owls. Wisconsin. Dogs at Purdue.
Really?
4.5 points.
The
Boilers are favored.
They must be going with King Cone at quarterback.
I would imagine so. Let me verify this. But yeah, that is what a world this has turned into.
I'm going to go I'm going to go Wisconsin.
4.5 point dogs.
No, I can't go Wisconsin. God, I can't go Wisconsin. Not with
Don't
Cone.
go. No.
Going to go Purdue.
We can't set up shop in the Cone zone time.
No, that's right.
Virginia going to Georgia Tech. Tech favored by about a touchdown, 6.5, 7 points.
What if we go cone of uncertainty like a hurricane?
That's not bad.
Okay. What was the game?
Virginia, Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech favored by about 6.5.
Oh, God. Virginia?
I'm taking Tech at home. Minnesota favored by 1 against your Big Ten West champions, Northwestern. I am like, this is all I want out of this weird, mushy season. I want Northwestern to win the Big Ten West going 6-6 because it's on the table.
I'm going to go Northwestern here. God, what a weird game.
Minnesota, by the way, I believe, and maybe I'm wrong, did they lose to Illinois and then beat Purdue in successive weeks?
That sounds right. That sounds right to me.
Oh my God, they're 100% beating Northwestern. That's just the mushy world. One more time. And then I have here UAB, Texas A&M, the Blazers quietly, an excellent year, 17-point dogs at the hornet's nest that is Kyle Field.
I'm gonna go.
Any reason to believe in UAB and Texas A&M overlooking? This is definitely UAB's de facto. No.
Yeah, let's go UAB here. UAB.
I'm gonna take Texas A&M here. All right, another one. Mississippi State hosting Arkansas. Do you have any strong thoughts about this?
Mississippi State. Let's go Jomo.
I think I'm going to go Mississippi State here as well. They're going to get on the scoreboard. It's been a rough year for this Arkansas team, especially on offense. I'm going to go with a nice day for Mississippi State's offense. They've been few and far between, and even a nicer day perhaps for Adam Amin's stomach because he's calling this game for ESPN. It's a nooner. And here's what he's going to be eating on his voicemail.
Hi, friends. Adam Amin here with your solid verbal voicemail. Not going to lie to you, not a whole ton to play for with Mississippi State and Arkansas, but it is my first trip to Davis Wade Stadium. I've been to Starkville many times before, though, so I know my spots. Let's start with something you would expect. Great barbecue in Starkville, Mississippi, the Little Dewey. Excellent barbecue, and I highly recommend the fried catfish and the fried green tomatoes. Good rule of thumb, the further south you go in Mississippi towards the Delta, the better the catfish. Something you may not expect in SEC country. Go to a place called Stromboli's. You should get the Stromboli, preferably the Brooklyn Stromboli, or get the Old Main Calzone. I'm not telling you that you're going to feel like you're at an authentic Italian place. I'm just telling you that the food is good. I highly recommend those two items, but the main reason to go to Stromboli's is the cookie dough bites. Just think about that for a second. Cookie dough bites. Those are my two spots in Starkville, Mississippi. We start off your college football Saturday on ESPN with Arkansas and Mississippi State. Until then, this has been your solid verbal voicemail.
There you go.
Should also mention Thursday is Tulane and Houston, and Friday is Memphis SMU, and there will be a combined 187 points in those games. So I would recommend, as it's probably getting a little bit chilly where you live, make a big pot of soup, maybe some chicken tortilla, maybe some corn and black bean, and watch some offensive football. And Ty?
Yeah.
Quick favor.
Yes, please. Anything. Will
you drop that big, stanky, teeming, tender, tit-delating drum and fife?
Woo! Okay. Let's start this off in style. Yeah. Colgate, 9-0. Traveling to Army. The Cadets are 8-2. Army is an 11-point home favorite, Dan. This is a tester for both teams. Only 11 points. Who do you got?
Ty, you know I'm going with Paul Schaffner's boys on that defense.
Yeah,
I'm going with Colgate.
I think Army's going to kill them, is what I think.
Do you?
I do, yeah.
Didn't Army lose... Was it 2016? Who did Army lose to? They lost to a Patriot League team.
Right. I think Army's going to kill Colgate. I hope I'm wrong.
They struggled with Lafayette last week. Army murdered Fordham last year. 2016, it doesn't... they murdered Lafayette. 2015, they lost to Fordham.
Whoa.
Recent history of Army losing to a Pat League power tie. I'm going with Colgate to cover here. Ultimately, they don't get the job done. But, God, those Gators are going to show out in the Hudson Valley. Fordham, 1-9. going $2 now.
Speaking of powers.
Yeah, anytime you can get 2 teams in, combine 2 and 18.
I guess Fordham.
You want Fordham?
Yeah, I always go against Bucknell.
I think they're going to be celebrating in the streets of Lewisburg. Give me the Nellies here.
Holy Cross at 4-6, at Georgetown at 5-5.
Where are they playing this game?
They're playing this one at the Hornets' Nest that is multi-sport field.
God, that's the funniest phrase. I'm going with Georgetown here to get it done in front of that hostile crowd. You know, they're going to be throwing batteries. It's like Azteca, Ty.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, and finally...
Which, by the way, has an unplayable surface, right?
Unplayable surface. It's like Levi's Stadium. Yeah.
Yes.
And finally, to close out the Patriot League season, if we're being honest here, Dan. Not any Patriot League games now.
How is this game not at Yankee Stadium again?
I don't know. That was so cool. I was there. Lehigh at 2-8 versus Lafayette at 3-7. The game is at Lafayette in Eastern Pennsylvania. This is the battle of 2 of our Solid Verbal College Town shirts here.
Yeah. And family members.
I have to go Lehigh. I'm assuming you have to go Lafayette.
I have to, Ty. This is in my blood. I'm a leopard through and through. You can't ask me to take the enemy here, the sworn enemy. I know you're married to an engineer, Mountain Hawk.
That's right.
I'm the son of a leopard. Yep. This is Montague Capulet territory for the Solid Verbal. This is where I gotta go with Lafayette.
In the streets, snapping our fingers for sure.
That's West Side Story, but I dig it all the same. I'm going Lafayette. Big here, Ty. Statement win going into 2019 for the Leps.
All right. West Side Story based on Romeo and Juliet. I got to go Lehigh.
That's true. Okay. We have a couple questions that I want to get to real quick from Twitter because I promised the people.
Let's do it.
Do you have a Thanksgiving side that you look forward to with a particular amount of gusto?
Cranberry sauce for me is one. Actually,
can or homemade?
No, hold on. 1A is Mama H's pumpkin pie.
Okay.
Best pumpkin pie.
Not a side. Not a side.
Not a side. Okay. But if that's not a side, then cranberry sauce. I prefer the canned variety that is like 85% sugar and comes formed in an unnatural shape. But that's what I look forward to. I could eat the whole freaking tube of it.
You like your canned cranberry sauce.
That's right. Love it.
Do you eat it at all any other day of the year?
No, but only because it's not really available any other day of the year. I would. I'd be fine with that.
Yeah. You can probably get some artisanal cranberry sauce at Wegmans. I'm sure you can.
Right.
I go with barbecue pork fried rice, not a traditional side, but my family, we eat Chinese food on Thanksgiving along with like a Chinese turkey. So barbecue pork fried rice is my answer. My traditional favorite is still, it's probably like a broccoli casserole type thing. Okay. I love the cheesy broccoli casserole.
Nice.
This I feel like this is a cousin of your de facto Super Bowl love or de facto national championship. Jeremy wants to know, do you factor in senior day when considering point spreads? I love this question, Jeremy.
Senior day, homecoming. Yeah.
Oh my God. Listen, it's a tough ask for Oklahoma State to beat West Virginia, but these seniors, they want to go out in style in front of their parents and friends.
Here's the thing. So to peel back the curtain a little bit, we put a Google Doc together every week where we list out, there's 4 columns on it, or 5 columns, I guess.
Yeah.
First is the game time. The second is the network that it's on, important information. The third column is just who's playing, where the game is. Then opening line, and then current line. And we're usually in the ballpark. I'm not going to lie. Up until very recently, it was a chore for me just to figure out where the damn game was. I had for whatever reason, I would screw it up once a week where I'd get a location wrong. Very basic information. For me to now bolt on top of that when it is or isn't homecoming, senior day, what have you, that's too tall of an order. So no, I do not factor that in.
What do you have on your burger, Ty? This is a great tweet because Brian signed the tweet. It's from Brian Smith, and he signed it Brian Smith.
Okay. On my burger, first off, how do you get your burger cooked? I like my medium well.
I'm a medium guy. I don't like it really that gray in the inside.
I go lettuce, your favorite, tomato.
Ugh.
I like a pickle on there. Like a little bit of
spear or coins. Slices.
I like the coins.
Okay, same.
Preferably a big coin if they offer that. and some American cheese, obviously,
Sure.
or cheddar cheese.
Mm-hmm.
Did I say onions? A couple onions, maybe.
Raw or grilled?
Love raw. Got to go raw.
Okay. Ooh,
And,
Ty loves it raw.
That's right. And a little ketchup and a little mustard.
Okay. American cheese, finely shredded lettuce, some sort of Thousand Island style burger spread, pickles, onions. That's fine by me.
Okay.
Next question, real quick. Oh, there was a really good one here. Okay. Tyler wants to know, and we can speak to this with some authority because of your Penn State hood. Mississippi State fans are worried about Joe Moorhead. Quarterback aside, Mississippi State returned one of the most talented teams ever in program history. Season feels like a waste. Is there hope? Patience is wearing thin.
Whoa.
Not even done with season one due to lack of offense / stubbornness / recent comments to fan base. And so he attached a longer quote about expectations and goals.
Okay. Well, first off, while there was a veteran-laden team for Joe Moorhead down there in Starkville, it was the first year of him implementing this system.
Correct.
And even at Penn State, when they retained the same head coach and brought in a new offensive coordinator, it took like pretty deep into the season for things to take effect. You could imagine the kind of turmoil bringing in a new guy at the top, bringing a new offensive guy beneath it. Like, there's a whole lot more turnover taking place at Mississippi State than might meet the eye. So even though you did have a lot of veterans on that team, I think you got to give it time. I really like Keaton Thompson at quarterback. I really like him.
He can be a playmaker, yeah.
I really like him. He's young. He's coming back. You won't have the same level of experience next season, but I think that's a guy that I know Joe Moorhead can build around. So he's a good coach. Recruiting, I think, is going to be the issue. Can you recruit to Mississippi State? It's not quite like recruiting to Penn State up in the Northeast. If Joe Moorhead can do that, I think schematically he'll be fine.
He's recruited well. I don't think that's going to be an issue. I think the big thing to remember is when you bring back that much in the way of experience and talent, but it's an entirely new coaching staff and new schemes on both sides of the ball, you are essentially teaching from scratch. Even though the guys have been there, even though, you can't really blame talent level, especially on defense. I think the defense has been superb. It's hard to complain about the job Bob Shoop has done with that defense. I think it's important to remember that this isn't like Joe Moorhead, offensive coordinator at Mississippi State, simply ascending to head coach. Like we've seen, whether it was Larry Coker at Miami, just keeping it going, Chip Kelly at Oregon with Mike Bellotti, keeping it going, Dabo eventually building things at Clemson as he ascended to that position. I think it's important to remember, one, they couldn't really pass the ball. Not with what the system that, if you hire Joe Moorhead and you pay him the money to run a program, you want him to do things his way. Nick Fitzgerald is not the guy to do things his way long term, obviously. Yeah. And so Mississippi State is not in a position to say, year one was disappointing on offense. I don't like where this is heading. You have to be a little bit more self-aware about your place in the SEC West. Right. This is not a takedown of Mississippi State. You just have not earned the right to have immediate high-level expectations, even returning that level of talent.
I agree. We agree.
So, agree. Let's make the last question a weird one. By the way, Mike Leach talking about coach brawls.
I saw that, yeah.
2018. We're doing it a decade ago.
So while you search for a new question,
this will be our last one, but continue.
Let me also throw this in there. This comes to us courtesy of Danny, who wants to be this weekend's Hop offensive coordinator. He suggests Orange Blossom Pilsner. He says, in honor of College Game Day coming to my hometown of Orlando, I think this light and mildly citrusy Pilsner is a great choice that's pretty widely available for purchase. I have not heard of this one, but I have not been looking for it, so I can't speak to whether or not it's available up here. He says it's easy to drink, reminds you of our recently ended summer before the cold, dark winter, and it's one of many great beers to come out of a very weird state. That is Danny. So there you go. Orange Blossom Pilsner in honor of Orlando.
Last question, and I like this one because this is not even just de facto national championship. It's a question about de facto games with stakes. This comes to us from Dan Savage Live. I don't think it's the actual Dan Savage, but that's okay. What's more interesting? Buffalo versus NIU. So there's a collision course in the MAC.
Right.
Or Pitt versus Clemson. So that's what the ACC championship is looking like. Wazoo versus Arizona State. They take care of business. Northwestern versus Michigan. Which is it basically, is Buffalo NIU the clear most interesting conference championship? Because obviously Alabama, Georgia has the highest level of talent on the field.
So, well, okay. I'm ruling out Wazoo ASU. Maybe it's my East Coast bias. I'm just ruling it out. That's fine. Buffalo NIU, though we will talk about it, I promise you, is not on the same scale. The two for me that have secret flesh, Dan, if you want to bring this full circle, I'd say Pitt and Clemson, because Pitt has shown weird fight this year. They also could get annihilated in that game.
Oh, they're going to get vaporized.
Annihilated in that game because they love to run, and Clemson will kill their running game. Or Northwestern Michigan, because you might remember Northwestern played Michigan pretty tight a couple weeks ago.
I actually do think it is Wazoo ASU, and this is why. The stakes of that game would mean that Washington State would have finally gotten over the Washington hump. It would be Leach's first win over Chris Peterson. It means Arizona State, in year one of Herm Edwards, has won the Pac-12 South and has the opportunity to go to a New Year's 6 game. Year one, right? Arizona State, Herm Edwards, winning the Pac-12. Also, there's there's Gardner Minshew, there's N'Keal Harry. I think there is, in terms of weird entertainment, Wazoo, Arizona State is my answer.
And let me close out with this, just to keep things interesting on an otherwise maybe boring and dull week.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of conference championship week, what if Northwestern were to knock off Michigan 1 week after Michigan knocks off Ohio State? Michigan, see you later. What if Alabama knocks off Georgia? Very probable. Georgia, 2 losses, see you later. What if Oklahoma loses one of their 2 games? What if they split with West Virginia? Both teams now have 2 losses. What if Washington State loses to Arizona State? What if then all those teams lose? Who gets that final playoff spot?
So that we have Michigan beating Ohio State and losing to Northwestern, right? So Ohio State has 2 losses.
Yep. Everybody has 2 losses in that scenario.
I would 100% put UCF in ahead of LSU because LSU is disqualified per my own rules and regulations. You get shut out, you're out of any playoff considerations.
Right.
So you're asking me to choose between potentially undefeated UCF and then a bunch of 2-loss teams.
That's right.
Including Michigan, Georgia, Oklahoma, West Virginia. Who would win the Big 12 championship?
I guess whoever won the game last.
Because I think a 2-loss Oklahoma team probably has a better shot than 2-loss West Virginia.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's a very strange. I guess you have to go Utah State, right?
Fresno State.
I guess Utah
very high.
Put the Aggies in.
Put in Colgate.
I would in that scenario. I would probably put in the Big 12 champ.
If you're looking for chaos, there's your chaos.
I would probably put in the 2-loss Big 12 champ and ahead of LSU and ahead of UCF.
7 2-loss teams and UCF.
Because Northwestern eliminates the Big 10. I just can't put in Michigan or Ohio State with 2 losses and neither one of them winning the conference. So,
all right. Fun show.
Yeah, Washington State not there. No. Yeah, I guess Big 12 champ or UCF. I'd have to see the style points.
Fun show. Thanks for bearing with us. solidverbal@gmail.com. If you've got anything more to say, don't forget you can give us a call, 408-VERBAL-1. That is a reverb line. We'll cut up all your messages. We'll put them together on Sunday morning. Don't forget to get your Pick'em pool in. solidverbal.com/Pick'em. Free to join, fun to play. solidverbal.com/store. Buy your t-shirts before they expire on November the 21st. There is still time. Jump on in. They're selling like hotcakes. If you're interested, please don't waste any more time. Don't forget you can find us on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, and also on Reddit. Reddit.com/r/solidverbal. that's created by Verballers for Verballers. For that guy over there, my good friend, Dan Rubenstein. For myself, over here in Eastern Pennsylvania, my name is Ty Hildenbrandt. We will catch you all on Sunday. In the meantime, enjoy your week. Enjoy your Save the Date Saturday and stay solid.
Peace.